Welcome viewer. So recently I made a video on why to be an atheist. To make sure I didn't miss or misrepresent any religious talking points, I did a quick research, and this was the second result on very popular keywords. It's by a channel Premiere on Demand, and this video has almost 2 million views, with honestly the worst proof I've ever heard for God. It's an amalgamation of bad understanding and strawman argument. So let's jump into it.
Some people say that human existence is a result of a roll of the cosmic dice. Like the gambler who stakes his life savings on the next throw, we just got lucky in the lottery of life. Well, in fact, the chances of rolling a 6 70 times in a row are around 1 in 10 to the 55. How long would I have to stand here rolling this dice, allowing about 5 seconds per roll, before hitting that lucky streak and rolling 76s in a row? On average, you would have to continually roll this dice for 100 trillion, 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 trillion years before your numbers come up. What are the odds of us being here? Now, the odds of rolling 76s in a row, 1 in 10 to the 55, as it happens, those are the same odds of something called the expansion rate of the universe being just right for the existence of us here today.
Let's imagine I'm holding a flat piece of glass. I throw it on the floor and it shatters. How many pieces did it shatter into? I don't know, let's say 9? Now, what were the variables involved? Obviously the force I threw it with, the angle it made contact with to the floor, the rigidity of the floor itself, i.e. carpet, wooden floor, brick and such. If your question is, what is the chance of the glass of shattering into those exact 9 pieces? One might be able to calculate it taking all those variables into account with some formulas and simulation. Suppose we come up with a really large number. Then, using an average time for throwing the glass and counting the pieces, you calculate that it would take someone trillions of years to be able to replicate my shattered glass. Okay, and what is the point? The existence of the first shattered glass is the reason we're calculating the odds to replicate it, and that event has already happened. There are billions of galaxies in the universe. Each galaxy contains billions of stars and their own solar system. Just using 1 billion for both those figures would give us an astronomical figure of 10 to the power 18. Our own sun and solar system is just a tiny part of Milky Way. And we are here. We exist. And just because we exist, we can calculate what was the chance of our existence. That's all. Think of yourself. For you to exist, your parents had to meet at some point. For them, their parents had to meet, and so on and on. What is the chance of every single branch of your ancestors to meet their respective half, and maybe even were in good terms long enough to conceive the next generation? And yet, here we are.
The fact that we're here shows that someone's loaded the dice. In fact, maybe there's no dice at all. What if the evidence points to this life-permitting universe actually being the product of an intelligent mind which intended for us to be here?
A puddle might think that the world is created for it, as it fits the puddle so perfectly. Then again, maybe it's the puddle that fits into the world. The universe didn't change for us, but we changed for the universe.
Now, you could come up with some speculative other theory. Maybe there's an infinite number of universes, giving you an infinite number of chances to roll the dice. Maybe. But we don't have any scientific evidence for it.
Now, I believe this is a strawman argument, unless there are people who starts with the thought that it's a game of chance. One final example. If you ever get a royal flush while playing poker, savor that moment but don't show it. The chance of you getting that hand is 0.000154%. I have been playing with cards almost my whole life, And unless I want to, in a natural way, I never got a royal flush. To put that number into some perspective, if you were dealt 20 poker hands every night over the course of your lifetime, you would expect to get a royal flush once in your lifetime in 89 years. And yet, there are people who got royal flush. But that royal flush is just an example. It doesn't matter which 5 cards you have. For poker, we are not interested in the orders of the card. Thus, we would calculate combination instead of permutation. The odds of you having those 5 cards are simply 52 times 51 times 50 times 49 times 48. But that is with specific order. So, if we divide that value with a factor of 5, that comes to 1 in every 2,598,960 hands, and is higher than royal flush because a flush could be any of the 4 suits. Simple terms, the hand you're looking at, if you play 20 poker hands every night, you can expect to get that hand about every 356 years, and yet you're looking at it. Before ending this video, I want to talk about 2 math stories I was introduced to by a Russian math book when I was a little boy. The first story is just a bunch of friends hanging around and talking about probability. Nerds! The conversation simply starts with, as they're looking outside through their window, what is the chance of next person walking by being a male or female? Well, obviously 50%. How about the next 2 person being the same gender? This is how the book introduced permutations with repetition. This is a simple formula of n to the power r, where n is the number of things to choose from, and we choose r of them. So the odds of the next 3 person to be male, well, our n is 2 and r is 3, which means it is 1 to 8. Or there are 8 possible ways the next 3 persons' gender might be, and only 1 fits our requirement. In the story, it is explained nicely. Finally, one of the kid makes a bet for his new shining bicycle that the next 100 people walking past would be male. Now, so far we understood the odds, and we know how unlikely it is. We are talking about 2 to the power 100, and the result has 31 digits in it. That's when another friend turns around and says, "You will lose the bet." Why? Can't you hear the marching band? Utterly brilliant. First, they explained what permutations are, and finally showing that having a great big odds doesn't mean it's impossible. The next one was of a monastery, high up in the mountains somewhere. Originally, it was in a temple in the Indian city of Banaras. The temple priests are to transfer a tower consisting of 64 fragile discs of gold from one part of the temple to another, one disc at a time. The discs are arranged in order, no 2 of them the same size, with the largest on the bottom and the smallest on top. Because of their fragility, a larger disc may never be placed on a smaller one. And there is only one intermediate location where discs can be temporarily placed. It is said that when the priests complete their task, the temple would crumble into dust and world would vanish in a clap of thunder. Well, that device is called Tower of Hanoi. At times, it is also called the Tower of Brahma or Lucas Tower. It consists of 3 rods and a number of discs of different sizes which can slide onto any rod. It starts with the disc in a neat stack of ascending order of size on one rod, the smallest at the top, thus making a conical shape. The objective of the puzzle is to move the entire stack to another rod, obeying the following simple rules. 1. Only one disc can be moved at a time. 2. Each move consists of taking the upper disc from one of the stacks and placing it on top of another stack or on an empty rod. And finally, no larger disc may be placed on top of a smaller disc. This story introduces patterns, both recursive pattern and explicit pattern. And finally, the worried little boy in me was put to rest by explaining how long it would take. For this math, I prefer explicit pattern as it is much simpler. The minimal number of moves required to solve a Tower of Hanoi puzzle is 2 to the power n and then minus 1, where n is the number of discs. So even if the priest took only 1 second to make a move, it would take over 590 billion years. We're safe for now. Well, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I do hope that you have enjoyed it. In which case, can I please ask you to like, comment, and maybe even subscribe to help this little channel grow, at least to a triple digit to begin with. Have a safe day. Signing off.
We are one piece.